Hi, everyone. My name is Magnifique Mukundwa. I'm a senior majoring in environmental health engineering, and my project aimed at looking the status of water, sanitation, hygiene, and nutrition, or washing as I call it, in rural areas. And I used Mbuye sector, a community located in Rwanda, as a case study. So in 2018, that's when I started Laidlaw, and the first part of my project, I worked in the lab on cleaning, jerrycan cleaning methods. You can see a jerrycan somewhere. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm not sure. You can see it, the blue jerry like container on the left, on the right. And in this lab, I learned how to do lab methods such as preparing solutions. I learned how to collect and store water samples in the lab. And most importantly, I acquired knowledge about water quality testing methods that included membrane filtration, free chlorine residuals measurement. Then during the academic year of 2018-2019, I designed my study, and that included refining my research question, writing the protocol, and developing tools. The tools included like consent forms, survey questions, recruitment, and then I applied for ethical approval from the Institutional Review Board here at Tufts, but also in Rwanda. Then I got the equipment and got trained on how to use the field equipment. And then for the second part of my Laidlaw experience, I went to Rwanda, hired a team that was composed of enumerators, community health workers who helped me in my study. And they collected water data for 241 households. And the data was collected in form of household interviews and water samples. Then I took the data, entered it in like softwares, then did some statistical analysis. And my results, this is what they show. So they show that among the 241 households that were interviewed, only 48% had access to improved water sources. And households, 57% of households treated water often or sometimes. The households that met the WHO standard of safe water was 58%, and households used latrines at the rate of 98%. And respondents that reported that they washed their hands before eating were 92%. And respondents that reported that they washed their hands after latrine were only 57%. And the level of malnutrition in this community among these interviewed households was 3%. And when I look at this data, I definitely see a couple of things that can be improved in this community regarding washing. As you can see, the access to improved water sources is 48%, which is if you compare it to the global access, which is 89%, this percentage is still low. And the households that treated water were also low. 57% is a low percentage, which leaves so many households that do not treat water. But there is something good. Definitely, there is something good. The level of malnutrition is very low compared to 47% of rural children who are stunted in Rwanda. So I recommend that the government of Rwanda invests efforts in making sure that access to water in this community is actually improved. And also the government should implement programs on educating community members on how to treat water or like wash hands, because you can easily enhance behavior change by like implementing such programs. And this project that I did for Laidlaw has definitely influenced my interest and things that I would like to do as part of my career. I'm considering doing wash and work in East Africa. I'm from Rwanda. I would like to go back to the continent and do work in this field. I'm working on a social enterprise which aims at promoting access to wash and I'm interested in getting a master's in environmental engineering or even an MBA because I'm interested in business and I believe that business can help entrepreneurs promote access to wash and I'm also considering a PhD in the future, and I'm grateful that I got to be involved in this program because it has really allowed me to explore my research interest, learn methods that are going to be helpful in the future if I ever undertake another research project. I thank these people so much because without their input, my project could not have been conducted. The Laidlaw Foundation, the Provost Office, big thanks to Dawn, Diana, big thanks to my mentors, Professor Danielle Lentane, who is sitting there. Big thanks to the government of Rwanda that allowed me to do this research, and also the local staff that worked with me. And this is our team, like the team that I hired that helped me collect water. Thank you.
Thank you. So I was just wondering, Magni, how did you select this sample for 241 households? What was the criteria?
So I didn't go deep into that, but if you are doing research, so there is a formula you use like to determine like the size of your sample. So it depends. Yeah, that is like a little too technical, but it depends on like the error, but also like your hypothesis. For instance, if you understand like the null hypothesis, I had a hypothesis that that only like 15% of the households are going to be using are going to have free chlorine residuals that are that meet the standard. And then I used the 0.15, like 0.15. Then I used it to calculate like the sample size. I got 200, then added like the 40, like to reduce the amount of error that can come from the study. And then after so how I chose like these 240 households. So it was through like randomization using Excel. So the way I did this, Mbuye sector has 8 communities. No, I wanted to do like to get 30 households from 8 communities in Mbuye sector. So Mbuye sector has 7 cells, and I wanted to get 1 community from each cell and then 2 communities from one of the cells. Then I used like a random function in Excel, generated random numbers and ranked them, and then chose the 8 communities. And then to choose households, like when I was collecting data, so if a community had like 140 households and I wanted 30, so what I did was like to skip 2 to 3 households. So 1 household would be interviewed, and then like the third would be interviewed in order to make sure that I'm sampling the entire area. Yeah.
Any other questions? I've got one really quick, if you don't mind. When you're talking about an entrepreneurial activity, what types of goods or services do you think you could offer that would be able to expand the wash-in levels?
Yeah, that's a good, yeah. Thank you for asking that. So specifically for Mbuye sector, one of the challenges that people reported was the lack of access to like public networks, water networks. People were like, oh, there is like this communal tap, but even if we have it, there is no like electricity because the pumps are electric, like they are run by electricity. So there isn't, like they have water, let's say maybe like once like in a week or twice a week. So which means that if they don't have water in those community taps, they depend on like water from like swamps or rivers. So one of the entrepreneurial activity that I see in Mbuye sector or in other rural areas is to like maybe to come up with, first of all, you can set up like a water kiosk that provides in like pure water and at a cheaper price too, because we asked about the cost and people were like, we can't pay more than like 20 Rwandan francs. So setting up a water kiosk is an option, though, you know, it's expensive, but also like filters, low cost household filters would also work perfectly in this community. Yeah, even though that also like requires behavior change, but yeah, that is like one of the interventions that could be explored. But also in terms of like nutrition, like how to educate people maybe about like nutrition, you can, you know, come up with like such entrepreneurial activity to help community members.